What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, taking a look at Stokastic's MLB DFS Lineup Generator for today's main slate. Starts at noon today. We have an early main slate today on DraftKings. I assume it's the same on FanDuel as well. I'm going to be taking a look at lineups for both FanDuel and DraftKings. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Of course, if you haven't yet signed up for the lineup generator, you can still get it for $4.48 for your first week using the link in the description, or if this is on Twitter, just using the link that is in my tweet. You're going to get it for just $4.48 for your first week for a tool that only gives you profitable lineups. Long term, these should all be profitable lineups. They've been run through the Stokastic Sims, found to be profitable lineups. So check it out if you haven't already. It's going to be just $8.95 after your first week as well. So remains a great deal after that first week, but you can use the description. You use the link in the description to get it for 50% off your first week. I'm going to start here looking at some DraftKings lineups. I'm going to do all stack types, all lineup types, not locking anybody. All right, first lineup, we have 0% owned Alex Wood. Interesting. Along with Ranger Suarez. Let me see what this looks like here. Is Alex Wood actually going to be 0% owned? Looks like we don't have him in the top pitchers tool. And then we have Ranger Suarez as the other pitcher. Okay, I do have the right slate here. So we just don't have Alex Wood getting any ownership today. Maybe he was a late addition, so I'm not sure if that's going to hold. But we have Ranger Suarez with 4.6% projected ownership, 12% chance of being a top two pitcher. He's looking great. Again, I'm not sure if there's something this ownership is going to change. I'm guessing the ownership's going to change there. But currently we have him at 0%. And then we have a 5-3 Rangers Red Sox stack here. Looks like a good one. A lot of low-owned pieces here. 8% owned Jonah Heim, 8% owned Tristan Casas, 6% owned Marcus Semien. Really, some really low-owned, and Ezekiel Duran, 6%. So some really low-owned bats in this lineup to offset the 26% owned Jarren Duran. That is pretty heavy. 15% owned Rafael Devers. So we got a couple chalk pieces, but then a lot of really low-owned pieces as well. This one falling on the contrarian side of the scale. So I think even if Alex Wood does come in with he's going to get some ownership. It's going to jump up, but probably not all the way to being chalky. This is still going to look like a really nice lineup with all of these low-owned pieces in it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this lineup. All right, second lineup we see here, we have Gavin Williams and Garrett Cole as the pitchers. Another Red Sox stack, and I guess I should look at the top stacks tool as well. Red Sox stack here with the Yankees, Red Sox and Yankees. 4-4 stack here, Red Sox and Yankees, with Gavin Williams and Garrett Cole as the pitchers. Some nice added correlation. Cole with the 4 Yankees. So, if the Yankees go off, Cole more likely to get the W here. Looks like a good lineup. And let's take a look at first let's take a look at the top pitch. So Gavin Williams and Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole, top second on the board, 23% chance of being a top two pitcher at 34% projected ownership. And then we have Gavin Williams, 31% projected ownership, 8% chance of being a top two pitcher as well. So both, top half in terms of top two pitcher odds. And Garrett Cole, of course, near the top there. And then in terms of the stacks, we had the Red Sox and the Yankees in this one. Red Sox with a 9% chance of being the top stack and a 10% chance of being the top value stack at 14% ownership. So a little bit of negative leverage. You just have to make sure you balance your lineup out if you're playing the Red Sox, which you can see in our tools. We have done that in the lineup generator for you. The Yankees coming in with a 5% chance of being the top stack at 11% ownership. So again, a little bit of negative leverage. But then if you look at the individual pieces of the lineup, you'll see that there are some lower owned pieces to it. 10% owned Giancarlo Stanton, bringing it down a little bit. Not extremely chalky pitchers. This one, I say it is on the far chalky end of the spectrum. So a little bit chalkier than I would generally like to see. I'd like to see some lower owned pieces in it. But again, all of these lineups have been run through the Sims. They've all been found to be profitable long term. So even if it's not my favorite lineup we're probably going to see here, it's obviously still a good lineup. These have all been vetted pretty heavily. All right, so I'm going to save this lineup. All right, so now we got a Pirate stack. We're seeing a lot of secondary stacks with the Red Sox here. Sonny Gray and Kevin Gausman as the pitchers, another 4-man Red Sox stack, and then a 4-man Pirate stack. Now, this one really does offset that Red Sox ownership pretty nicely. Henry Davis at 3%, Brian Reynolds 3%, Jack Sawinski 2%, and Nick Gonzalez 5%. So I like this one actually better than the last one. I'm sure the last one probably projected a little bit better, but this one a bit more contrarian. We also have only 7% ownership going to Sonny Gray. He is 5th on the board in terms of top 2 pitcher odds, 13% chance of being a top 2 pitcher at just 7% ownership. Looking good today for Sonny Gray. So that one looks like a nice lineup as well. And then the Pirates in the top stacks tool coming in with a 5% chance of being the top stack, but also a 16% chance of being the top value stack of the day at just 3% ownership. So I like the way the Pirates are looking today. This looks like a good lineup to me. I actually like this one quite a bit. All right, I'm going to save this. I'm going to go through and just save 20 lineups and see what we get. And these ones are all over the board in terms of chalkiness. But ultimately, we got to 70% Rafael Devers. Maybe a little bit more than I'd like on a slate this large, but man, Rafael Devers in a good spot. He's playing against Paul Blackburn in Boston. It's a great spot for Rafael Devers. So, hitters can certainly miss even when they, should hit, but, seems like a good spot for Rafael Devers. So I'd probably want to lower my exposure here a little bit by going back, deleting some Rafael Devers lineups and going to find some lineups that don't have him in them. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to have 70% of one batter on this slate, Rafael Devers is certainly one that I don't mind having that much of. I'd probably actually be more inclined to get rid of some of this Jarren Duran ownership. Part of the reason that we're getting to a lot of him is just that he's relatively cheap. But, he's in the outfield. It's there's a little bit of opportunity cost there in playing Jarren Duran. So I'd probably want less than 65% Jarren Duran. That would probably be my focus more so than getting rid of the Devers exposure. But ultimately, yeah, I'd probably want to bring down my Red Sox a little bit, maybe flatten out the exposure a little bit just for the sake of mitigating risk. But at the end of the day, these are all plus EV lineups. So, it's nitpicking a little bit, but I like to spread out my exposure a little bit more. All right, I'm going to go check out some FanDuel lineups as well. I'm going to do all stack types, all lineup types, and I'm not going to lock anybody in. All right, so we get James Paxton as the pitcher on FanDuel. See how he rates out. Top of the board in terms of top pitcher odds on FanDuel. 12% chance of being the top pitcher. 24% ownership is a bit much, but looking okay. And then we have the Brewers and the Guardians here. Looking in the top stacks tool on FanDuel. We have the Brewers 4th on the board with an 8% chance of being the top stack and a 12% chance of being the top value stack. And then the Guardians 6th on the board with an 8% chance of being the top stack at 11% ownership. So a little bit of ownership going to these two teams. Looking at the individual bats, yeah, we've got Brian Anderson at 7% ownership, bringing it down a little bit. This one a little bit chalky, but not crazily so. Looks like a good one overall. 4-4 stack with James Paxton. All right, I'll save that one. Now this one a little bit chalkier. We got a 4-3-1 Red Sox Rangers stack with just a one-off of Brian Reynolds. No real low-owned pieces to this one outside of the pitcher. We have Colin Ray at just 8% projected ownership, brings it down a little bit, but you can see this one's on the far end of the chalkiness spectrum. Looking at Colin Ray, yeah, he's middle of the board in terms of top pitcher odds, 8% chance of being the top pitcher. All right, I'm going to save this one. Oh, in Texas, we can look at as well. Yeah, Texas top of the board in terms of top stack odds, 17% chance of being the top stack today. All right, I'm going to save this, go through and just save 20 lineups, see what we end up with. All right, so this one actually is significantly more flatter exposure here. 45% Jarren Duran being the highest exposed player. Alex Verdugo number two at 45% also. So if I got these 20, I probably wouldn't mind it. This one is probably flat enough exposure for me. I'd be happy just to get to these lineups. Wouldn't need to make any changes here, I don't think. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and good luck today.